What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. In this video, we're going to be talking about this tweet right here from investing.com saying that Biden promises 500,000 electric vehicle charging stations. Now, I'm going to assume that this is throughout his entire term, but before we get into all the stocks that could be affected by this, if you enjoy all this information, please go down and hit that like button and hit that subscribe button so you're never late on any of these new videos that I put out and you can stay up to date on your favorite stocks, as well as maybe even find out about some new ones that you didn't have on your radar before. Now, the company that I see having the biggest effect off of this news over the next 4 years is going to be Blnk. Now, Blnk is a battery operator. They have EV charging stations for business vehicles, so more commercial vehicles for transport and daily driving vehicles, and these are placed all around the United States. Now we can see what they say is the Blnk advantage. When they started, they electrified more cars and electrified imaginations. They built the EV infrastructure to make electric vehicle charging accessible, and it's been their singular focus. Electric vehicles have been like the next best thing for the past 5 years. Now, a lot of people have bought into Tesla, which has been a very smart investment. If you got in early, people got into NIO and XPeng really early, and even LI. The Nikola investors didn't have as much luck unless you sold at the top or pretty early on. And then we've also had some other companies that have done pretty well, like Workhorse. Now we can take a look over here and we can see Blnk on Christmas Eve actually went up a massive amount. At one point, they were up 20% as of 11 a.m., But why was this? So in the last week, Blnk announced agreements with several healthcare system operators to grow its product development, but the move in the stock comes along with those of other names in the space. So it wasn't just Blnk that moved off of this news. So there's other energy companies that you can play as well. So there's Switchback Energy, and then there's TPG Pace Beneficial Finance, two special purpose acquisition companies. Those are SPACs. Those have been very popular throughout 2020, and they have plans to bring EV charging station companies public and have also been riding that wave. But we can see if we come down here that just in the last week, the company announced deals that it will have more than 600 new stations for its customers. This is a very big increase for them, and as of right now, they have less than 10% market share in North America, trailing ChargePoint's more than 70% penetration. If Blnk can get a lot of these government subsidies for the 500,000 new charging stations, and they are of high quality and they're cheap, that would be unbelievable for shareholders, and this stock could go to the moon. Although Blnk only has a 10% market share, they have an incredible product. You can see over here, the Blnk IQ200 charger is the fastest level 2 AC charging station available. So that means that it'll take less time for these chargers to charge up your car, and they are hoping to bring more of these IQ200 chargers to more locations near you. Now that would be great news, especially with the tweet that I showed you earlier with Biden planning to put out 500,000 new charging stations. Now this administration is probably going to put a large focus on environmentally conscious things, which would mainly be electric vehicles, renewable energy, which would be a lot of what Blnk has to offer. We can also see right here that with the new pole mounting brackets and hardware, the IQ200 can hang on existing light or utility poles. And as many communities switch to power-efficient LED street lamps, Blnk charging could get another boost, meaning that they don't have to go in and completely revamp the entire power structure in the area in order to have a charger for individuals to use. Blnk also just got a pretty big deal with Lehigh Valley Health Network. So we can see Blnk Charging, ticker symbol BLNK, signed an exclusive 7-year agreement with Lehigh Valley Health Network for the former to own and operate charging stations across the health network's extensive portfolio of locations. Now, this is going to mean that 6 additional chargers are scheduled to be deployed at the 2020 LVH Muhlenberg, and 6 at its soon-to-open LVH Hecktown Oaks campus early 2021. The remaining of the additional 219 chargers will be deployed in 2021 at 35 locations. So we can see from this that Blnk is really on the uptrend and they are growing. If they can keep getting more of these contracts, especially if they're government subsidized, this stock could go way higher than it is right now. We can see that the chart of Blnk really reflects the new focus in 2020 on electric vehicles, battery charging stations, and autonomous vehicles. If we go over here, we can see that just back in September, Blnk was trading at $8.97 and went all the way up to $33, $34, where it had a little bit of a hiccup, came back down to $22, which investors took a pretty big loss. But if you just held throughout this entire time, the stock went all the way up to $51.24 at its high and came back down. And then even on Christmas Eve, the stock went up 13%. Option traders and even shareholders made a lot of money that day. Now, if we go over and take a look at the option chain for Blnk, in order to play this new 500,000 electric vehicle charging stations and battery stations, we would have to go out at around January 2022, maybe a little earlier, but this would probably be where I would go. We can see that the premium is pretty expensive. You're going to have to pay around $1,600 a contract for the $16 options, or the $60 strike, and that's going to have an implied volatility of around 102%. So it looks like you're almost better off just buying shares in this situation and riding this electric vehicle run-up. Now, I don't think this is going to be a full long-term hold. I think this might be a 1 or 2 year hold, and we can see if Blnk can get a higher market share than 10%, because that is incredibly low for the products that they have. If they can start expanding and getting into new markets, we could see the stock go all the way up to 100 by the end of 2021, maybe even 2022. Now, here are a couple other companies that could benefit from this. So now over here, we have Workhorse. Workhorse has had a very turbulent last 3 months. It was at 28, 30. It's kind of stayed pretty flat. Had a really bad crash down to 15 in October, November, and then came back up and has been kind of hanging out around $22. We can see that it is kind of on the low end, and it has a high of around 29. I think Workhorse, this is a good spot to get in if you want to hold it long, if you haven't got in already. And then the last one is going to be Tesla. This is everybody's favorite electric vehicle company. As you all know, it recently got added into the S&P 500, and that has been on an absolute moon mission, ripping all the way up into almost 695. I think this was a little bit of a glitch on the chart, because we kind of all saw it close this day, the Friday before S&P inclusion, at around 670, 675, maybe even 680. And then the aftermarket closing price said it closed at 695 flat, which was a little bit interesting, and has kind of came down after the inclusion, a little bit of a sell the news event, and has been hanging out at around 661. Tesla, over the long term, if they can keep coming out with new technology and new vehicles, they're just going to keep going up. I don't think it's ever a bad time to get into Tesla, as long as they keep coming out with new vehicles and especially new technology. As I've talked about in the past, it's not really the vehicle sales that drive the stock price of these electric vehicle companies up. It's mainly the new technology that they get, especially as we saw with NIO. They're going to come out with their robo-taxi, and they might even release their fully autonomous new sedan and their ET7 on NIO Day. Now, that's going to be it for this video. If you guys enjoyed the information that I had for you, please go down and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and comment down below your thoughts if you're going to be buying any of these companies in the near future.